Sweet, wonderful people. What I want to do today, I want to talk about the concept of magic in a Jewish... We're on, what?
In WhatsApp, I sent it the copy of the pages.
Oh, thank you. So everyone should have the pages now.
Yeah, I think so. I thought Rob needed some.
No, I've got them here. Thank you so much. But now I've got 2 copies. That's amazing. It's like magic. Amazing. Okay, we're going to talk about magic as discussed in the Gemara, as discussed in the Talmud. Then after that, we're going to take that, I think, probably in 2 directions. One is magic shows today. Like magic, I don't know if anyone knows this. When you go to a magic show today, it's not really magic. It's optical illusions.
Well, I mean...
No, but I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so we're going to be speaking about... Yeah, we're going to be talking about like a halachot relating to what we call a magic show nowadays. But then we will also talk about magic, which is actually magic, and how modern, what modern rabbis have to say about magic too. Magic's one of those funny words where, when I say magic, we all think we know what we mean by the word, but actually we don't really know what the word means. You follow? Because when we think about magic, you think about some show. You think of a circus, you think about entertainment. Huh? I know you're a very deep person. Oh, excellent.
I think about magicians at birthday parties.
Oh, excellent. So I want to move away from that. I want to move to the real deal. If you have a look on the source sheets, which is on your phones, miraculously, page 3. So the Torah tells us in Parashat Mishpatim that we read just a few weeks ago, the Torah tells us, Mechashefa lo techayeh, which means that somebody who practices magic is put to death. Now, the fact that the Torah tells us that someone who practices magic has to be put to death tells me that there is something called magic. You follow? Because the Torah wouldn't be telling us about something if it didn't mean anything. So the Gemara then takes that and explains what's so terrible about it. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, lama nikra sheman kshafim shemachchishin pamalia shel ma'ala. What is terrible about magic? Why is it called magic? Why that word kshafim mechashefa shemachchishim pamalia shel ma'ala? They go against the heavenly palace. Now there's a natural order of the world, and magic goes against the natural order of the world. We're going to see that even stronger in the next 2 pieces of Gemara that we're going to look at. Okay. In source number 3, we're told Hilchot keshafim k'hilchot Shabbat, yesh mehem beskila, v'yesh mehem patur avol asur, v'yesh mehem... Oh, sorry, 1 second. Mutar lechatchila, ha'oseh ma'aseh beskila, ha'ochez et ha'inayim patur avol asur, mutar lechatchila k'de Rabbi Chanina v'Rabbi Oshia, kol ma leshavta, havei aski b'hilchot yetzira, u'mivri lehu, igla tilta v'achlila. So the Gemara tells us, and this is very, very interesting, that there are 3 types of magic. There are 3 types. Yeah, I suppose magic. There's good magic, there's bad magic, and there is optical illusions. Now, I don't really understand very much about like these spiritual ideas of what it might mean, what this magic might be, but I want to share with you what these different types of magic might be in Halacha, not because we'll fully understand it, but because we'll understand it better than we understand it right now. You follow? Okay, so what's bad? Bad magic, as we said, is machchishin pamalia shel ma'ala, which means that you are interfering with the way that God runs the world. It's not the way that God wants the world to run. And what's good magic? So the Gemara tells us about a very interesting story. There were 2 rabbis. Their names were Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Oshaya. Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Oshaya would every Friday would use a book called Sefer Yetzirah, and through that they would create an animal that they would then shecht and eat on Shabbat. And that is also creating something, like it looks very magical to me, but that is permitted. That is, we had bad magic, that's the good magic. And then the third category is that which looks like magic, but really isn't, and that is optical illusions.
Is it
Now,
prohibited?
huh?
That's prohibited?
So that there the Gemara says, Patura volasur, meaning that we'll come to that. There's a debate about, well, when we get to the modern applications, we'll discuss about, are you allowed to go to a magic show today? But it's certainly not clear that it's a debate. There is a discussion on that topic. It's not obviously yes, but we'll come to that. Now, in distinguishing between the two types of magic, I want to tell you about a book called Sefer HaYetzirah. Sefer HaYetzirah is called the Book of Creation. I know very little about the book. I think it was written, according to some, written by Adam HaRishon. Now, according to the Sefer HaYetzirah, there is a concept. Avram Avinu?
No, Amr Avinu had the oral tradition from Adam HaRishon. Yeah.
Oh, you are such a gift.
I read the book. It's not that crazy. You haven't read it at all?
No.
It's very, very it's very hyped up. It's not this crazy that
But I think it's very hard to understand. Did you understand it?
I'm really into the alphabet, so that one was.
So I want to tell you about this. Let me get to the Aleph Bet. So the Aleph Bet, this is the idea. It's a very, very. I think we can understand this. It's not something that's totally illogical. There is a concept known as Galgal Alpha Beta. Somehow it works like this. Let's say this over here is my hand. Does anyone else say in Hebrew a hand is a yad? Yad. So according to this Sefer Yetzirah, what the reason why this is called a yad is because you take the power of the letter yud and you mix it with the power of the letter daled, and that creates this thing over here. And this is called a regel, this is an ozen, that's an ayin, this is a shulchan. Each of those items exist because the Hebrew name for an item isn't just the Hebrew name, it's the recipe. You follow? Because it's those letters in that order will create whatever it is. And that's the idea of this magic. This is when we speak about the rabbis that would create this animal with which they would eat. That is only tapping into powers that exist. They're not contradicting God's plan of the world. This is a yad. This is a yad and a dalet. That's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted the world to be. Now, for various reasons, the rabbis over the generations, I suppose, understood the danger of this idea of this Sefer Yetzirah, the powers of the Sefer Yetzirah becoming, widely available, and then that could be a very tricky situation. And therefore, these traditions, this concept, even though it existed at the time of the Talmud, is not something that we are able to recreate today. But there are two important things. First of all, it exists. The Gemara tells us about these rabbis that would use these powers of mixing the letters in order to create things. So it works. And then there's a good way to do it and there's a bad way to do it. The good way to do it is using the Sefer HaYetzirah, which is really tapping into the way that Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world. And then there's a bad way to do it, and we're going to come to the bad way to do it in a minute. Okay, so that's Gemara number 1. To contrast the good way and the bad way, there's another piece of Gemara, and then on that, I think we're going to skip, actually, to source number 9 afterwards in the Sefer HaChinuch, that talks about the good and the bad ways to be involved in magic. So the Mishnah tells us in source number 4, Mechashev, that is somebody involves himself in magic, Ha'oseh ma'aseh chayav, v'lo ha'ochez et ha'inayim. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Mishum Rabbi Yoshua. So Rabbi Akiva tells a very, very interesting story in the name of Rabbi Yoshua, his teacher. Shnaim loktim kishuim. There are two people that are harvesting kishuim. Kishuim are courgettes. What do you call them in America? What's a courgette? Huh? Oh, and the zucchini. Is that what it is? Kishuim. Okay. Loktim kishuim. Echad loket patur. Echad loket chayav. One of them is doing, and they're both doing it sort of, like the zucchinis are jumping into their baskets. And one of them is doing it, it's fine. And the other guy is doing it and he's not fine. Why? Ha'oseh ma'aseh chayav. Ha'ochezet ha'inayim patur. The guy that's doing it using magic is breaking the Torah and therefore he is liable. But the guy who's just doing an optical illusion didn't do anything wrong. You follow? Okay. Okay, I'm going to go now to explain what's wrong with this magic. Okay, there's a very famous, there's a piece in the Sefer HaChinuch that explains the difference between good magic and bad magic. And it's very, very, very interesting. Again, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier, and that is, like, if we went to the depth of these ideas, I don't understand how the Yud and the Dalet combine together to create this. But I understand, I mean, I can say the words and it makes more, it's something that I can relate to. It's not something that we could create because Chazal decided that these are powers that are no longer available to us. But it makes sense. It's something that I can understand. You follow? So too the Sefer HaChinuch in a minute. Yes.
You talk about good and bad magic. I think it's good to make it clear that, for an example of what good magic is, it's obviously what you're talking about now. But bad magic, if you're not going to say it, Aaron's sons. We're learning in this week's parasha about Aaron's sons, how they tampered with bad magic, and they ended up.
That's not no.
No. But I'm talking to the rabbis, guys. So as I was saying, they tampered with not necessarily bad magic.
No. That's not
powerful magic.
Yeah, but that's not. We're not talking about that here.
Yeah.
Let's go back. I want to go back to the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch is very, very. Let me just explain what the Sefer HaChinuch is and why this is a useful book. And look at what. Do you have your phone? Oh, good. So if you have a look in source number, really to understand this bad magic, I think source number 9 is an excellent explanation for us to understand this. Let me explain what he's talking about. The Sefer HaChinuch is commenting, as you might know, the Sefer HaChinuch is a book that explains all 613 mitzvot. And on each one of the 613 mitzvot, excellently.
Yeah, right here in English. It's the one over there.
Oh yes, we even have it over here. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So Sefer HaChinuch goes through each one of the 630 mitzvot, and it does 4 things for each one. For every mitzvah, it says what the mitzvah is.
And where's that?
It's in the order. The book is written in the order of the Torah, so it gives you the source of the mitzvah, what the mitzvah is. And then it gives you the details of the mitzvah, how it's performed. Then the third thing, I think this is the most interesting for what's the rationale of the mitzvah? Like, what's the mitzvah mean? And then the fourth is, when is it applicable? The time of the temple, all times, sort of for men, for women, whatever it is. That's the fourth section. So on our mitzvah that says that someone who performs magic has to be put to death, on that topic, on this mitzvah, the Sefer HaChinuch explains what he believes is wrong about magic. But don't forget, we're contrasting magic with Sefer HaYetzirah, which is fine. Sefer HaYetzirah is a great book. Zechariah.
It's recommended, yeah.
Excellent.
The first thing they teach you in the book is how to how the letters are grouped together based on pronunciation.
Oh.
Apparently, it was very important to pronounce them correctly, even to be able to do.
Excellent.
Stuff, yeah.
You're such a gift, Zechariah, to the world.
I have an answer for the yad as well. I just noticed something.
Yeah, go on.
You have 14 joints in your hand. You have 3 joints for your fingers and 2 joints here. So
That's
12,
amazing.
12 and 2. Wow. Yeah. And you also kind of have yad, if this is the yud and this is the dalet, there's 4.
That is amazing.
Strange, yeah.
I think this is the yod, like this.
That's a Zerua.
Zeroa.
Yeah,
Zeroa.
Yad is just this.
The yod. Okay, so the hand.
Yeah.
And then I think the dalet.
Yeah, the hand
elbow.
is yad.
It's just that's your Zerua.
I know, but the dalet. Okay.
I get it, but
it's
it's
not
not
the
actually
arm.
your Yad. Yeah.
Yeah, you want a Zion there. Try and find a Zion.
Okay.
Okay. Or a Reish. You got a Reish? Have a look. So anyway. So in Sefer HaChinuch, in source number 9, and I hope this will make sense for you as well, young Ze'ev, talks about what's bad, what's wrong about magic. And he explains brilliantly, I think, he contextualizes the issue of magic with various other mitzvot that you would not necessarily associate with it. He says that the issue of magic is similar, or very much connected to, the issue of sha'atnez, which is mixing wool and linen, and crossbreeding. Now, what's wrong with crossbreeding? If I take a seed of an orange and I mix it with a seed of a lemon, I create this new citrus fruit called something or other, right?
Is that corrupting nature in a way?
Yes, exactly. Meaning, according to mystical traditions, every tree, everything, every blade of grass in the world has an angel in heaven telling that thing to grow, right? So every lemon tree and every orange tree and every pear tree has got their angel in heaven getting it to grow. But now I take this seed and it's half a lemon and it's half an orange. So upstairs in Shemaim they say, well, who's going to be in charge of this one? Like, what's going to happen here? Because this is not part of the original plan. You follow? Does that make sense? And that's why crossbreeding is forbidden.
But lemons and oranges are both crossbred. Neither of those are natural fruits.
Oh,
They're
no!
variations of the lime. There's only limes. And
Really?
The key limes, the little ones.
Even limes are
Well,
not
no, I thought,
Yeah,
I
but
thought it
key
actually
limes.
comes from that big
There are
citrus
only
fruit that we
3
have.
completely natural citrus fruits that are from the beginning of
What is
time.
it called?
Oh.
Pomelos, mandarin oranges, and etrogim.
Etrogim,
Those
yeah.
are the 3. That's it. All the others are some variation or some mix of.
But you're allowed to eat it. You're allowed to benefit.
No, you're
I
allowed.
think that
No,
also.
you're allowed to eat it. You're not allowed to create
Create
it.
Right.
Yeah. The God
Exactly.
can create it, we can benefit from it.
Oh, because the problem is the creation. You follow? I'm creating something that didn't exist. So these forbidden, also crossbreeding animals. Same concept. I'm creating something that didn't exist.
Ligers.
According to the Sefer HaChinuch, according to the Sefer HaChinuch, it is the same tampering with nature. It's playing around with nature. You follow? Which combines magic, crossbreeding fruit, crossbreeding animals. I'm going to read, if you have a look, I actually underlined the bottom section. I'm just going to see if I can make this easier to read. 1 second. I think this is going to work now. Oh, amazing.
It's interesting. It's in the name Yitzira as well, where you form something from other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that, which is okay, which is fine. It's bria, which is a problem, creating something new.
Oh, Bria.
Yitzira, that's what they're doing.
Okay.
Yitzira is to form something,
Right.
which is less of a problem. Oh, how are you doing? Chaim.
Great. I was wondering. So we
Great.
can't create new things that go against nature, but is it possible for something that is created newly to become part of nature through time? I.e., an orange,
Yeah, so I'm guessing
It's not a naturally
yes.
occurring thing initially, but now it's been in the world for so long, it naturally reproduces
Yeah.
on its own now.
Yeah, so I think yes. I'll tell you why. Because in Halacha, the prohibition is about the creation. It's about taking the two seeds and bringing them together. But as soon as a sapling is there, I can eat the fruit. I can then, let's say the fruit produces seeds. I can plant the second tree, but it's the first tree that's a problem. So that fits in very well. Yeah, excellent observation. Yeah. Micha.
But something you mentioned is that the naturally occurring plants have angels overseeing them. So that brings me to a question.
I know, that's a good question. I know, you're right.
Like every time we eat a lemon, it's like not Isor, but it's not like, maybe it's not spiritually conditioned. There's no angel looking over it.
There is. How it will go then? I think if
But
we
maybe
say that
it's-
there's no angel, we're just limiting Hashem's will.
No, so let me read the bottom. I think we can either read it explicitly in the words of source number 9, or maybe we might be able to deduce it from his words. It's a long piece, and because we're reading off a screen, I'm gonna make it a bit shorter. I'm just gonna reads the midrash. You see, like 6 lines down. Ein lecha esef milamata. You don't have grass growing down here on earth. She'ein lo mazal milamala. That doesn't have some spirit mazal from last week. Mazal milamala. She'omer lo gadel. That tells it it's time to grow. Go to the underlined bit at the bottom. Kochan ole min lefi sha'a yoter mikoach ha'amonim alehem. Rei kivan divrehem she'amru pamalia shamala v'lo amru gezerat mala. Notice he says that when I'm involved with magic, the Gemara, the rabbis, this is Rashi says it, but based on the Midrash, the problem with magic is not that I'm contradicting. Gezerat mala means that the divine decree. I'm not going against the divine decree, I'm going against the divine palace.
Oh.
What's the difference? The Fisha Hashem Baruch Hu Gezerov Ratza Mitchilat Habriya Liyot HaPula Hazot Yotzet Miben Shnehem. Meaning God wanted this to come. It's not against the divine decree, but it's me bringing it into the world, which is a problem. Uvot Tochachat Megula El HaHamonim Alehem Aval Amru Shekoach HaPamalia Muchash Mikol Makom. You follow? Meaning it is the responsibility of the divine palace to bring everything into the world which needs to come into the world.
Okay.
So I'm not going, that would answer our question, I'm not going against the divine decree. God wanted oranges, right? But when I bring the oranges into the world, I'm doing God's job. Meaning, when God created the world, he said, these are going to be all the minim. And then we say, oh, well, that's interesting. Let me do some more. Maybe they would have come in the 6 days of creation. Maybe there was another way that they would have been formed. But the problem is that when I'm taking something which is out of my remit, you follow? I'm involved in a divine plan. I just want to contrast that, obviously, with Sefer HaYetzirah, which is using Adam Arishon or Avram Avinu's handbook. I'm using the handbook, using the instructions, the Hebrew words with which to create whatever it is that I'm creating. I'm working within the Pamalia Shamala, meaning I'm using a tool that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. Nowadays, we don't have that tool anymore, but I'm using the tool that he gave us. But when I crossbreed, I'm circumventing his rules. Does that make sense? Yeah.
We have the tool, we just don't know how to use it.
Huh?
You can buy Sefer Yetzirah for 50 shekels or something.
I know. We're going to encourage Zachariah to figure it out.
Hey, Rob, I want to say
Yes,
this
sure.
idea of that it's a divine decree, but we shouldn't do it. Yeah, the way I understand it is similar to the way I understand when Hashem decrees that we should be punished, that Am Yisrael needs to be punished. So with Paro, Nebuchadnezzar, or Haman, that Hashem decreed that, at that point in time, for whatever reason, like that Am Yisrael needs to be punished in a certain way. But those individuals didn't need to be the one, like they, based on their personal evil, they became the shliach, so to speak, for for the punishment.
Right.
So it's like Hashem decreed that this needs to happen, but it didn't need to be Nebuchadnezzar. It didn't need to be Hitler. It just
Right.
to be
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
many Russians lining up, to be the guy who did it.
Right, like you need to be a certain,
Well,
you need to be
really
a horrible,
earned it.
evil person to
Yeah.
qualify
Yeah.
to be this, person who's going to be the,
Yeah, I think you're
Hashem
excellent. And that's exactly right. Yes, Micha.
I was just thinking about how is there a clear and fast definition between good magic and bad magic? because I feel like we're getting there, but I'm not like entirely satisfied with
Ah.
where we're at. And so something like, because I have thought about this and read very little about it, but just on my own trying to understand. And from what I've heard about like white magic, which is used by rabbis, is a lot of it has to do with like invoking angels and using divine names. And then maybe that's different from Book of Formation. Maybe Safari, you can tell me more. But I don't know if it's a different type. But relating it to what we're talking about how it goes against the heavenly palace to do this certain kind of magic, is because you're doing something as Ben Adam, which is supposed to be the job,
the
of
remit
an angel.
of the right, exactly.
And so you're like upsetting the angelic hosts. Whereas if you're like, I don't know, calling upon them or like asking for help from angels, that would be okay because you're not going against the divine powers. Is that?
Pardon me for speaking out of turn, but my understanding is that the line isn't so clear. Like it's kind of blurry.
Yeah,
because you can think about things like when we talk about Sefer Yetzirah, the first thing that comes to my mind is the story of the Golem of Shechem.
Of Prague.
Yeah.
Okay, but or Chelm, slicha, Chelm, in Prague. You're right.
Yeah.
And
That may not have been a true story.
it's probably not. But it is like
there are
a.
stories in the Gemara about I think Rabba created a golem.
Yeah.
And then he sent it to Zera's house and then to test to see if he would know. And Zera knew that it was a golem, and he said, "Go back to your master."
Yeah.
But the way they would bring it life was to write Emet on the forehead,
Just to show up.
etch Emet, and then the way you would put it to sleep, so to speak, when it had done its job, would to be wipe away the Aleph, and it becomes Mem Taf, Met.
Which is all very much connected to the letters. It like seeing the letters as not as a name, but as a recipe.
Of course, yes. So I think we're all having trouble. Really.
No, but I think the distinction is as you said it is, and I'm not. It is exactly as it has been presented. It's Sefer Yetzirah. I'm not sure if this distinction is fair to say, but I'm going to talk about the distinction between Bria and Yetzirah. Yetzirah is to form, and Livra is to create. And I think the magic is involved in creating something new. So if we go back to our discussion of crossbreeding, I'm creating an idea that never existed, meaning not just like a new species.
A new concept.
Yeah, new concept. Exactly. Something like something.
You have to come up with a new name for this thing too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something new that is an act of bria, which is a creation, rather than yetzirah, meaning everything is here. It's I'm just forming. It's a bria is a yesh me'ayin, which is there's nothing of it here, and I'm bringing something new. But yetzirah is yesh miyesh. I'm forming that which exists. And in all the discussions of rabbinic activity, the term is always Yetzirah, which is a formation, Sefer Yetzirah, as opposed to a Bria, which would be a very good distinction. Like an orange, as I've now discovered, is a Bria. There was never an orange before. We had to...
Maybe a grapefruit is a better example. That's a very clear, grafted. So I think I would say that creating a grapefruit, however you do it, would be bria versus planting a pre-existing grapefruit seed.
That's excellent.
Or
quite right.
You can build a golem out of clay and then bring it to life, but you can't form a golem out of nothingness and
right. Yeah, excellent.
It's still a being of clay.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not changing its
it's an act. My act is an act of Yetzirah, not an act of Bria. Yeah, exactly. Excellent. My gosh, this is so interesting. It's gone wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Everything everyone has said it's such a pleasure to discuss this with you, people.
Does anybody want to form me an orange?
Okay.
They're like 5 shekels a kilo down the road, so it's more. It's easier to get it that way.
Okay.
I want to go to.
Probably cheaper too.
I want to go to the Shulchan Aruch, and with that, I want to go to the Shulchan Aruch and then the Shach, which really is a lovely follow-up from what we've just said, and then conclude with some modern opinions about magic. If we go to the Shulchan Aruch, talking about magic, look at this. This is Mechashefa, doesn't need to be mentioned that is Asur. The Torah tells us that. We saw in the Sefer Chinuch that is Machchishin Pamalia Shel Mala. But look in source number 6, Yoredea Siman Kuf Ayin Tet Seif Tet Vav. Ha'ochezet ha'inayim. Somebody who does optical illusions, Asur. Isn't that amazing? That's really limiting our magic shows quite severely.
David Blaine, David Copperfield. They're both Jewish.
Are they really?
Oh.
My friend did a magic trick in Tel Aviv.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know at the time.
Don't tell him this. Anyway, we're going to come to that in a minute.
I know some of them.
No, but I want to bring your attention to Aval al Yudei Sefer Yitzira Mutar. However, using the book of formation is Mutar. And if you go to source number 8, why is Sefer Yitzira okay? So in source number 8, the Shach, which is the commentary, as you know, in the Shulchan Aruch, writes, La'asot lechatchila, you are allowed lechatchila to use the Zechariah's book, Sefer Yitzira, in order to create things. Why? He's read it. To Shemot HaKodesh, and they are using holy words. V'Hashem Yitbarach natan bahim koach, and God gave each letter the power, lifol alideim, v'chasidim v'neviim, and the pious people and the prophets used it in order to show the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They were doing it in order to sanctify God's name. I'm sure it is no coincidence that the rabbis who were creating the food were doing it lichvod Shabbat. You follow? So he adds another element that we didn't see until now. Not only are they forming rather than creating, but they are doing it to sanctify the divine name. Okay. However, nowadays, I'm sorry to read this nowadays, even though in their days, in the second night, Yishaya was punished on Zeh, Kol Shekeh Bizman Hazeh. Certainly nowadays, She'i Efshar Linhok B'Tahara U'V'Kedusha. V'Rachmana Liba Boy. And God just wants us really to take things easy. Rachmana Liba Boy means we're not in a world of formation nowadays. Now, like we saw a little bit last week, Tamim Tiyeh Mashem Elokecha, that we're not. It's true that these concepts exist, and when we spoke last week about astrology, likewise, there are mazalot. There are mazalot. We say Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. That is because of the mazal is good for us. We saw the stories last week of various rabbis who behaved based on the mazal. The story of Rabbi Akiva's daughter also. It's all from the end of Masechet Sanhedrin. However, it's not a modus operandi for us. Why? Tamim tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. That's not the world in which we operate nowadays. You follow? Okay. From the Shach, we saw that Yitzira, and this really fits in very nicely with what we were saying earlier. Formation seems to be okay, but he adds an extra piece that they were doing it as an act of, sanctifying God's name, lichvod Shabbat, or to, to somehow promote an important cause. But it wasn't like, to earn money on some sort of show, which would obviously not work. Okay, so you need two things. You need to use the right method, Sefer Yitzira, as opposed to a Bria, and it also has to be L'Shem Shamayim. But nowadays, we don't live in a world where people could be sufficiently intent on doing the right thing, and therefore, we don't involve ourselves with this. So far on the issue of magic. So I just want to summarize what we said on magic. There's good magic and there's bad magic. Bad magic, death penalty, we can avoid that. Contradicts the divine plan. Why? Because I am creating something that is not my job to create. I'm not in the business of Bria. I'm in the business of Yitzira. And when I do Bria, that's terrible. Okay, that's number one. However, the good magic is okay. It was okay at the time of the Talmud because people were doing it for the right intent. Nowadays, even that is not going to work. Beseda, so really we're not going to get involved in any magic. Beseda? However, we saw in the Shulchan Aruch, and I want to pick up on this and have a look at some modern opinions on this final point. The Shulchan Aruch says emphatically, without any, sort of as one opinion, without any arguments on it, or chezet ha'inaim, somebody who's involved in optical illusions, that is forbidden. Now that's a bit of a problem for any of you who may ever have been to a magic show. You follow the problem? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there are two approaches. I have to say that I'm going to look at two modern rabbis. The first one is from Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe Feinstein, who lived in America, and he talks about doing magic. Binyan achizat einaim. That people do, like the, what's it called? Like the flip of the hand, the sleight of hand. Thank you, you're so good. Sleight of hand. Okay. So would you be allowed to do that? If we've just read that it says it's asur in the Shulchan Aruch. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. Okay. So he writes, I'm going to go to the bottom. He says, Yadua sheharbe yeladim mitpalim mizeh. A lot of kids go and they get blown away by these magicians, right? Ad shechoshvim shevada yesh la'adam zeh kochot bilti tiviyim. Until sometimes children go to these shows and they are convinced that the magician has got supernatural powers. In fact, they often try to build it up to make it look like I've got supernatural powers. Hapariza alamidah, that's a little bit exaggerated. Ella, sheyeladim choshvim she'adam gadol hu, v'yesh vada yeladim shechoshvim sheharbe ika kamahu, v'lo shayach shum chashash bazeh. However, these children know there are many magicians that can do it. You follow? And therefore, first of all, adults know that it's not real. It's not achizat einaim for adults. I mean, I know that you're tricking me. You follow? As opposed to you tricking me. And even the children who are tricked, the children know that there are many people that do this stuff, and they probably also know that you are tricking me, but it's not real. Why? Because what's the first thing a child asks you after the magic? How do you do it? Exactly. So, and therefore, even though Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to do achizat einaim, it's because our achizat, if I know that he's doing it on me, then it's not achizat einaim, because I know that he's doing it. In fact, I was in a magic show a few years ago. They had a magic show for children, a children's magic show, and it was for a religious event. So they had the boys on one side and girls on the other side, and a religious magician, and he opened his magic show by reading the Shulchan Aruch, and then he read the Tshuva of Rav Moshe Feinstein, and then he began his magic show in order to justify and explain to the children. He said, I want you all to know, before I start the trip, before I start this show, just in order to really to tick all the boxes, that no one should ever think that I'm doing anything magic. All I'm doing is tricking you. It's going to be fun, you're going to be enjoying it. I mean, but know, sweet children, that it's a trick. You follow? Okay, that was that. I just want to conclude, yes.
So, I'm gathering most likely very few people, if not nobody, knows how to do magic as through Sefer Yetzirah today.
Right.
It's basically nobody, right?
I couldn't say.
If they did, they certainly wouldn't let anybody else know.
Yeah, there's probably maybe a few.
They say about Kabbalah, those who
know don't say.
Those who
say
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Those who say don't know, and those who
it's the same.
No,
It's the
don't
same.
say.
Those who know don't say, and those who say don't know.
Exactly. So it's pretty much out of reach.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
The other side is still practiced.
Which one?
Okay, no. If you're gonna say one, like the other one is also the same. Because the world works in balance.
Yeah,
like that.
balance.
Yeah.
You mean you want to say that the other, like,
Yeah.
dark the sorts
Yeah.
of the Machishim Pamalia Shalmala?
I've met people, I've like seen it.
Oh, really? The truth is, I do remember Yosef over here has a brother called Yisrael. And when we spoke, he told me some crazy stories in the Philippines about magic.
There's a lot in the Philippines.
Nachon, but it's the real deal.
It's like the real. They're
Chicken
not
blood.
joking.
Frog's eyes.
Yeah, Haiti and India, they also have a lot of stuff.
Oh, voodoo.
So
But for
if
them,
there's
it's
a lot
like,
of that stuff,
for them, it's like healing. For them, it's healing. They help people, but it's still at the end of the day, it's still magic.
Crazy, so interesting. Yeah, I think. Okay, I want to conclude, people, from the words. I'm afraid to say. Oh, here we are.
I'm asking for the Tagalog word.
I'm afraid to say that we read the position of Rav Moshe Feinstein, who is more lenient. However, for Sfaradim, Rav Ovadia Yosef is a little bit more strict. The real question is, what's Achizat Einaim? If I know that you're doing Achizat Einaim, is it still Achizat Einaim? Meaning, if I know that you're doing an optical illusion, then can I say that's not an optical illusion because I know that you're tricking me? So according to Rav Moshe Feinstein, that's enough. Meaning, I know that you're a trick. I know that you didn't really just bring that rabbit out of a hat. Do you know what I mean? I know something. I don't know how you did it, and it looks cool to look at, but I know it's not real.
I know there was no quarter in my ear.
However, however, Rav Ovadia Yosef is a bit stricter on this. He writes at the bottom, B'sikum, Achizat Einaim, sort of what we call it, optical illusions. Afilu de kalot haptnua, even if we're doing it through sleight of hand, uzrizut, ve'ein sham kishuv klal, and even now I know there's no magic, it's just people playing around. Nevertheless, asura min haTorah, v'asur lasot gam b'simchat chatan v'kala v'chadome, and you would not be allowed to do magic even in front of, like to bring joy to a chatan v'kala. So we a very interesting modern machloket between Ashkenazim and Sfaradim. And the question is, what is this optical illusion? Is the fact that it's an optical illusion, but I know it's an optical illusion, enough reason to allow me to take part in it? Or Rav Ovadia, just stare away, keep away from all this stuff. But it's not like this superstition, or did that happen, did it not happen? It's just a world that we should keep away from. You follow? Because, like a Rachmana liba by Tamim Tiyem Hashem Elokecha, that's not the area of human existence that I want to live in. So therefore, he says, just keep away from all of that. I wonder, I just want to summarize and I'll take your question. I wonder whether Rav Ovadia, coming from a Sfaradi background,
Iraq
I don't-
specifically.
was more
Belief
like
in magic in
concerned.
Iraq is actually still pretty prevalent.
Yeah, exactly. Keep away from this stuff. It's dangerous. You follow? But in America, where Rav Moshe Feinstein was writing, it's like entertainment. You know what I mean? Like if you go to Manhattan and someone does some magic, they're entertaining you. But if you go to other places in the world and you see, it's not entertainment. So Rav Moshe Feinstein says it's entertainment. It's fine. But Rav Ovadia Yosef, who comes exactly as you're saying, Chaim, he's from Egypt, I think. Is he originally from Iraq?
Yeah.
So
Yosef is from Iraq.
exact. So coming from Iraq, where the idea of mysticism, all that whole world is a much stronger part of people's identity, he just says, just keep away from all of that stuff because it's a much more dangerous influence. I'll start with magic, and who knows what I'll get swept into. But a guy in New York, he's just going to become a magician. He's not going to.
Like faith healing is still
Huh?
Faith healing is still a huge industry in Iraq.
Yeah, so that's not right. Exactly. So
Like, I think,
he's worried about
I read
it.
an article not long ago that like roughly half of Iraq's population still like believe in like black magic, as it were, as like
That's
a legitimate
amazing.
source of
That's
healing.
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's exact. I think it's very interesting how the different rabbis were clearly thinking about, like the role of this sort of, when they have a magic show that's like music and it's a bit dark and there's a lot of drama. So for Rav Moshe Feinstein, it's like harmless entertainment. But for Rav Ovadia, it's a slippery slope and you have to keep away from it. So I want to summarize very quickly. We looked at the idea of magic. We saw that started with the Torah that tells us you're not allowed to involve yourself in magic. And then we drew a distinction between Sefer HaYetzirah, which is working within God's plan, as we saw in the Sefer HaChinuch. And that's really not a problem. We have the holy rabbis that were creating animals to shecht in order to eat for Shabbat Kodesh, and various other stories of people that were using in a legitimate manner. They were using the Sefer HaYetzirah, and that's fine. That's formation. But then, when you start mixing things together, like crossbreeding, or crossbreeding crops, crossbreeding animals, shatnez, and then also magic, that is machchishin pamalia shel mala. It's interfering with the divine, not the divine decree, because it was going to happen, but the divine palace, meaning you are fiddling around in an area of existence that isn't yours, and therefore it's forbidden. Those are the two types. Nowadays, we have neither of them, because we're not sort of in a position to use even Sefer Yetzirah with the appropriate intentions for L'Shem Shamayim. So that moves from two types of magic to Achizat Einayim, which is sleight of hand. Everybody knows it's not magic, but people go to a lot of effort nowadays to make it look like magic. And on that, we said it's really a very interesting cultural argument between Rav Ovadia Yosef and Rav Moshe Feinstein. To what extent is it dangerous for me to go to a magic show? So for Rav Moshe Feinstein, it's not dangerous. Everyone knows it's entertainment. They're just like playing around. And now, if I enjoy it, I'll go to another one. But for Rav Ovadia, who's much more concerned about the implications of entering this sort of world of looking for something else, that it could lead people to dangerous places, and therefore it's asur. Sweet, wonderful people, it's a joy and an honor to learn with all of you. Yishar koach. We'll pause there.